In this lesson, we're going to practice a few more things that we've learned. We're going to do a really basic IK setup. This is just the main mechanisms of a leg setup for an IK. It's going to have the stretching. We're going to set up the parenting correctly, as well as our constraint here. And we're also only going to do half the amount of work. So I'm only going to work on one side and then mirror it across to the other. But hopefully this quick exercise will get you up and running and understanding the IK constraint really, really quick. Let's go. The first thing I'm going to do is delete everything that we don't need, which is everything. See you later. Now, rather than creating our armature in the front view, I'm going to do it from the side view. So not from numpad 1, but from numpad 3. And this is going to point our knee in the direction of forward in the scene. And that's going to be helpful for when we actually create a real rig sometime in the future. So I'm going to add in my armature now. So Shift A, add armature single bone, and then turn on my bone name so you can see what I'm naming everything. So time to jump into edit mode and position things around. So this bone, I'm just going to move up with G, and I'm going to constrain it to the X-axis. It's not really that important, but I'm going to be very particular. I'm going to put this on the dead center line. There's a couple of different ways that we can create our bones here, and I want to show you a few techniques. So I'm actually going to snap the tail of our bone to the cursor here, and then subdivide this bone. So I'm just going to go Shift S and then snap the selection to the cursor. And because the cursor was down here, that's where it's going to snap it. And then I'm going to select this and subdivide. So I'm going to hit the W key, or if you have the default settings, I believe it's right click, and then just choose subdivide. I'm just going to subdivide it once. And then I must remember that this chain cannot be dead straight. So I need to grab this knee joint here and then just constrain it and move it out a little bit. So bend it in the direction that I want the knee to go. So that's created a little bend there. That's good. And now I want to extrude our foot out from this bone. So I'll select that and then hit E and then constrain it with the middle mouse to drag out here. And now I know when I've created that from the extrude, it's actually going to be a child of our shin bone here. And for an IK constraint, this is going to be the target, and the target cannot be part of the same chain. So while I have that fresh in my mind, I'm going to clear the parent. We clear the parent with Alt A, and then just choose clear parent. So now this bone isn't parented at all, which is good. And I'm just going to duplicate this one and move it up here where the knee is. But I want it to be in the direct, at the same level as this knee joint here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of snapping again. I'm going to snap my cursor to the selected, and I've selected the knee there. Then I'm going to select this guy, make sure that we jump to the 3D cursor for our pivot point. So that was the same thing as changing our pivot point up here to the 3D cursor. And now I'm going to scale on the world Z axis just to move those up in line. So SZ0 is now jumped to the height of our tail here. Now there's many other different ways of doing that. I could change my snapping to be vertex. And now when I hit G, I can hold down Control and it will snap wherever I want, but I can also constrain it. So I can move it up on the Z axis and then hold down Control. It's going to line that up for me. So there's many different ways that you can align bones. Now with this knee joint, it's actually helpful to parent it to the foot. So I'm going to do that right now. So first select the child, then the parent, and then Control P. Who's your daddy? I am. Keep offset. And that is all the parenting. Now it's time to name our bones. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to call this one, so F2, I'm going to call this one thigh.L. This one's going to be shin.L. This one's going to be foot.L. Oops, it should be a dot, not a comma. And here I'm going to call this the knee pole. So knee pole.L. Right, so time for our constraints now. So we do that in pose mode, and we want to add the constraint to this guy here, the shin. So the order that we do that, we select our target. Who wants a constraint? Shift select our owner, and we say I do. Control Shift C, and then we choose inverse kinematics. Boom. Now I'm going to select this one and just look at our constraint over here. So it's already set up this, which is good. Our chain length is 0, so it's going to run up the hierarchy as far as it can go, which is going to stop at our thigh, which is okay, but it's always a good thing to get into the habit of changing this manually, so you know that if the hierarchy changes, our constraint is not going to break. All right, so let's test this out now. So I'm going to grab this foot and move it around. Ta-da-da-da! It's working, although we haven't got our pole set up, our vector pole. So let's do that. I'm going to select our bone with the constraint again and add our pole target down here. So we need to choose the object first. So let's just choose the armature, and then the bone is going to be the knee pole.L. Now you noticed it's flipped around. Now why is that? Well, that is because of our axes. So we can see it's trying to point the x-axis towards our knee here. So let's actually change that. I'm going to jump back into our constraint here, and I'm just going to move this around. Yes, I want it to be in the negative, so it'll be negative 90 degrees, and that should straighten up our knee. Yep, our knee is working properly. Da, 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 da. There we go. Okay, so we have finalized this this IK, this basic IK constraint. There's two more things I want to do. I want to mirror it across to the other side, so I have a right leg, as well as I want to enable stretching on these bones here. So the stretching, we need to do that on each of the bones in the chain. So I'm just going to start on the shin, then go to the bone tab, and here we see inverse kinematics. And on the stretch, I want to change this one to, let's just say 0.1. That is fixed up. Now do the same thing on the thigh. So inverse kinematics, stretch 0.1. So now they're going to stretch the same. Da, 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 da. Excellent. So I'm going to reset everything just so it's back at the start. And now I want to show you how I can move everything in edit mode. So I'm going to jump into edit mode, make sure that I have everything selected, and I'm going to move it to the screen right. So hit G and then constrain to the x-axis with the middle mouse, and somewhere around there will do. That's perfectly fine. And then with everything selected, I'm going to hit W or right click if you're on the default settings, and then choose Symmetrize. Boom. So that has done all that hard work that we've already set up. It's done it for us. Now we jump back into pose mode, and you can see we have both of these working. So this is a really basic IK constraint setup on our legs here.